So, okay. Hey guys. My name is Rohan, and today we will be talking about design for startups. And let's talk about what we'll be talking about today. So we'll be discussing why design is essential for the startups, role of design in reaching product market fit, how design and product should evolve in a startup ecosystem over time, and uh, if you want to learn design and build a team, so this I'll share a DIY process that I have used to do that, and you can do that too. If you are a product manager, if you are a designer, this is going to be a session for you. This is going to be a little bit long session, like 35 minutes or so, but we'll be doing a Q&A afterwards. So let's first talk about what a great product is. So in my understanding, a great product is about great product management, great design, great engineering, and great customer support, right? And so today we'll be focusing on the great design aspect of it and what happens if we move in opposite direction. But before that, uh, who am I? Okay. So, hi, my name is Rohan Mishra, a philanthropist who started his philanthropy journey at the age of 18, who lives in a book castle with not one, but two coffee brewing machines and speaks French fries. Raised by a superwoman, have helped 800 design aspirants learn and break into design as a career and product management as well. Professionally, I'm a product designer. I help startups create awesome products for their users and reach their business goals. I'm a designer, I'm a design speaker, and I'm a design mentor as well. I have helped companies create amazing products in their uh, in their industry. You may know me from some of these products, such as Zomato Market, Contactless Dining, Zomato Gold, Zomato Support, Gold Pay, and Meals for One. If you have any questions, I would love to take it up afterwards. And you can ask me questions on other things as well. Or maybe you know me from some of the content pieces on product and design I have been sharing over the years on LinkedIn and on the blogs. I also run this. I also started this design community called Design Sundays, where we invite design speakers to talk about design and product speakers to share their journey and to help, designers learn these skills. So you can join us there as well. But let's talk about why is design essential, and to do that, I want to take you guys through two studies, two cases where design has made so much impact, and it's not in a good sense; it's in a bad sense. So that we understand what is the role here. The first case is it happened in uh, 2018. It's something that happened in Hawaii, and everyone in the whole area, they got this message that ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a trick. And this wasn't coming from some random number or anything. It was going to every single phone, and it was going to every single phone of the everyone who was there, and it was coming directly from the government, right? And the what happened was it's a one of the classic cases of design went wrong. People called started calling their families, their relatives, and they said, I'm going to get killed. There is no way. I know death is coming, and the saddest part is I cannot do anything about it. And if we think about that, what can be more painful than this, right? So Yeah. But there wasn't actually uh, like a ballistic missile that was coming this way. After almost 38 minutes, the government, the people who were working in this department, they realized they have made a terrible mistake. What happened is, instead of clicking on a drill message, the person clicked on not the drill message, which was exactly identical to the message. If you see the image on bottom left, there are two options. Exactly, they say exactly the same thing for the whole state, and the one has drill in front, so it's a drill message, and it's a other one is not a drill message. And on the click of that, people didn't realize they have so much power in their hands that on click of one single button, the whole state will get this message. And uh, how much panic will be created. So if you see, the people started leaving the city. They had to put it so they had to run this. And as what we call as Chinese whisper, so people started doing that, and the message spread so widely that they had to run this message that there is no threat for next 6 7 days, right? And so much panic, and so much uh, thing is created. So this was just a classic example when you miss something which is a drill and something which is not a drill, put them together, and once the person clicks on, it's not the drill one, you do not even give a warning. You do not tell them what they are doing, right? And there is uh, no, we designers like to call it error prevention. I'm not going to make that mistake. So there was nothing like that. This is one example. The another example is also a very sad story. It's about this girl, not real name Jenny. She was on medication, and she was on such powerful medication that after and before the medication, she had to be put on saline so that the body can adjust to the medication, right? But what happened is, three nurses were taking care of Jenny, and in a misfortune, they were so stuck figuring out this software that they forgot about Jenny, and she died. It's a very sad story, real one. And also, this happens because of this bad UX. And during the investigation, the the hospital and the research committee, they actually figured out that the biggest problem was there is no usability issues were there. People were not trying to figure out what they want to do when the things were not happening as they thought it should be. And it's not just one case. You see, there were multiple such cases. And when I say there were so many more cases, actually there are, right? So design, when not done right, can at worst uh, turn away, um your customers, you lose your customers forever. And at worst, people can lose their lives, right? So this is how powerful design is. But so what role does design sort of plays in a product? So to give you an analogy, I'm sure you guys must know this reference. This is from Kung Fu Panda. So the design has to play the master to the dragon master, right? So to the whole product. So this is the analogy that I give everyone, that design has to be the uh, like you know the guiding force in building your whole thing. It's about that. And in the later part, we'll discuss why this is one of the most important things as when you're working as a product manager, because we say the product managers are like the mini CEOs of the product. So we'll be discussing that. So as we discussed, design, it has to come in picture and do all those things. It's not just a business, it's a responsibility too for you. Again, so let's talk about a few definitions of design that I understand and that will make sense to you guys as well. And why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because people are really stuck between the visuals, the product, and all those operations aspects of it. So just want to take you through some definitions which will give you clarity on this. So one is design is a method of problem solving. You must have, if you have designer friends, you must have heard this like a million times, that we are not just pixel pushers, we are problem solvers. Okay. The second thing is design is making beautiful solutions, right? It has beautiful, but not just beautiful anything, beautiful solutions to the problems. And the third thing, which is very much in the context of a startup as well, design has to solve for useful first, utility first, and usable second. If your product doesn't have utility, then it doesn't matter if people can use it or not, right? So we talk about two questions. The first is like, the first is it is this useful, and the second is, can I use it, can people use it, right? So we'll be talking so these are a few definitions that like makes more sense to me. Now let's go deep into, let's understand what design actually consist of. So I have divided this into four parts. Four parts, as in these are four main components. First is user research. Second is product design. The third is interaction design, and the fourth is visual design. So let's talk about UX research. So first is, I want to tell you this. This part is about empathy. When we talk about empathy, we generally think about like so you must have heard walk in your user's shoe, feel what your users are feeling. But is there a practical way to do that? This way we call as UX research, right? This is the tool that you use to gain that empathy, right? And so we designers talk in terms of empathy mapping, but like, in the end you'll understand that UX research is a tool that everyone uses to gain that empathy. So what so I'm going to tell you the questions that you should be asking, because I can give you answers, but that won't be helpful. So I thought, let's give you questions. The first thing is, who are my users, who who is having this problem? The second is, what are they trying to do? What are their goals here? The third is how they live. What does their life looks like? What do they generally do? What do they do every single day, right? And the fourth is what they are capable of doing. So you have to find answers of that. There are very exact ways to do that, like UX surveys. Uh, you can do user interviews, and you can do ethnography study. So like, just to tell you, ethnography study is where you go in their environment and you just observe them, see them doing things. So these are a few ways you can sort of do it. If you want to go like, but generally in this, the tool doesn't matter. If you do user interview, user surveys, UX surveys, it matters less. What matters more is you try to understand what they are facing, right? And to start with, you can start with these two books. The first one is called so okay, so first thing is, output of the UX research should be a problem statement, right? It should give you a well crafted problem statement. And so that you can solve that. These are two sort of books that you can read. One is Talking to Humans. It's by Jeff Constable. He is he's the CTO at Meetup, and this book is amazing. It talks about two parts. First part talks about why you should do it. The second part talks about how can you do it. And it's a very small 75 pages long book. So you can read this one. It will give you a very good start to start with UX research. The second one is How to Win Friends and Influence People. It will give you the basic understanding of what empathy means and how can you basically learn from others. Now, moving to the second part, which is product design. Product design, let me just tell you what product design actually is. So, there was earlier a term UX design and a term product management, right? And when designers started to understand uh, sort of product, then this design this came into picture. So if you look at the product design perspective, you'll feel that as a product manager you are actually talking about these things only, and a lot of designers aren't talking about that. That's why this term is called product design. So this actually on a very high level, it is about what is the problem and why is this a problem in the first place, right? So the questions that you need to ask is, what's the problem? What are the possible ways to solve it? What's the priority of the problems? So what is a big problem to solve which will impact more number of people, or what is a low hanging fruit? And what to make. Like in the end, you have to decide what to make exactly, which will solve for the um, user's problem. In the output, you always come up with a requirement doc, which product managers usually call as PRD, right? Product requirement document, right? Now let's move to the third part, which most people call it UX, but let's there are a few more things that we'll add to this that makes it the whole interaction design. So let's talk about interaction design. So in the essence, it's about how does something work, right? How does something work? So how will people actually do things? What is the process? What is the flow? What is the interaction? How people input something and how the system responds. What are the heuristics? So heuristics here doesn't mean heuristic evaluation, which is a different thing. Heuristics basically means how the industry products are doing it. So if there is a general way of of entering data, you cannot invent something very new. People won't get it. It's the Don Norman has actually defined it really well in his book design of everyday things. They are pots, so they are kettles which has a very beautiful design, but you cannot use it. You can't use them because it's not usable. So the form is better than the function, right? So that's why we call this novelty. Is actually Novelty means making something new, is actually opposite of better usability, because people have to learn those things. So when I work with PMs, I see they want to create something very creative, very novel. Like let's make something unique. The problem is that to learn that, people have to go through the cycle, and people might not be able to figure it out, right? So the two questions that we actually talked about when we were talking about the useful and usable part was, am I making the right thing? And the second question is, am I making the thing right? Am I making the right thing means, does this solve the problem? Is it helpful? It will be so would it be uh, would it be impactful in user's life? And the second is, am I making the thing right, which means can people use it? Can people get through the whole flow? Can people get done what they want to get done? And that's what it is. So novelty hurts usability. So yeah, then again, coming back to interaction design, the next question we ask is, can they achieve their goals? What people want to do, uh, can they do it? And so moving on, the next is visual design. So the visual design is about what you want people to see, right? What do you want people to focus on? What do you need people to pay attention to? Okay. So the first question, what should users pay attention to? Visual design is not about illustrations and everything. It's illustrations are never used for the sake of illustrations in great products or the good colors or anything. They are used to communicate something. So visual design is about communication. It's about communicating what you want people to pay attention to talk about what is important there, and like how do we want, what kind of emotions do we want to evoke, as well as what do we want our users to feel, right? In the end, the final thing out of visual design is sort of uh, final screens, mock-ups, and all those kind of things. And such as, like, for interaction design, it was wireframes, paper mock-ups could be there, could be a low fidelity prototype or something like that. If you want to get better at visual design, there is this technique that I call as copy work. So copy work is basically, if you like some design, you try to copy it pixel by pixel. Like, you make exact replica of it, and while you're doing it, you just try to understand why this font color, why this font size, why here, why there, and you will get better at it. So if you do it for, let's say, 40 days, you'll get really good at it. So one of the things that we promote at Zomato is this product managers doing design. So in most cases, like now, most of our PMs design, right? And they create the whole design in Figma. And how we have actually, like, we have trained them and we have done these kind of activities with them, so that this is what we feel as one of the crucial things that PMs should learn, because it's about communicating your ideas, and sometimes it's best to make it on your own than, like, relying on a designer to make it, because some uh, your hands could better replicate if you have the skills to tell what you want to communicate to the people. Cool. Now, as we discussed that the product managers, they act as a mini CEO for a product. So let's go back and let's think about, if they want to start a company, they will be founders. And what I have seen in all the founders that I have worked with, they're really good at answering these product questions, figuring out the answers to these product questions, like what we called as, like, the product design questions. Who are the users? What problems they are facing? What are their needs? What are their goals? And all those things. So that's why I say founders must be a designer, because they have to understand the segment, the problem really well before they can solve it. And now, if we are here, if we are talking about products, let's actually go into reaching product market fit, right? And why product market fit is important, let's also discuss that. So this is one, this font is too big. Okay, so so one of the things that like 42% of the CEOs of failed startups said was that the number of one reason that startups fail, small companies fail, is because they do not achieve product market fit, right? Okay, it's, yeah, so they do not reach product market fit. And so this is a very this is one model that I like. It's a product market fit model by Dan Olsen, in which he has divided the product and market into three and two sections. So the product consists of the the value proposition feature set and the UX, and the market talks about the target segment, the underserved needs. So if I take you back to the four components that we discussed about design, you'll feel that all these things designers do on some level or the other. All these things are done by designers. That's why if you have to understand how, so Steve Jobs said it's not just how it looks, it's also how it works, right? So a designer should have understanding of all these things, and and that's why I brought this up, because if you see, the market consists of users, empathy. It's about understanding what their needs are, and that's what product design is, right? And that's how you make the product. In the essence, if we go by this model, your MVP looks something like this, and this is just a representation of, you have to have everything, the functional part of it, reliable part of it, usable part of it, and the delightful, the illustration, the visuals that we talk about. You should have most of it, not just one part of it, because the you have to make it good, because there is so much competition out there that if you won't do it, the others will. Also, this is just the translation of the last slide, which is basically, don't make a car by starting with the wheel. Start with the statement that, what do people want? People want to get from one place to another, and how can you build the smallest thing in the most delightful experience, and how can you reach there? So you go from building the easiest mode of transport to the thing that you thought of building, right? It's not it has to be built over time. So now let's talk about the evolution and design evolution of design and product in the startups. So they are generally they are like this three stages of design and product evolution that I understand, and I have seen startups and going through. These are basically these three: adoption, growth, and innovation. Okay, so so adoption is about introducing people to the solution that you propose, and just making sure that they understand it really well, they understand the value proposition really well, you target it very well. The second is about making it for scale, making it for more number of people. Uh, so if you are in 20 cities, now you want to go to, let's suppose, 100 cities, which is 5 times, right? Uh, which is growth. The third is innovation. You now create a new market for a related problem. And the best example that I can think of is this amazing product. We call it Zomato Gold, right? So Zomato Gold, in when I work on Zomato Gold, I have literally seen the three stages, right? The first stage of adoption, where we were trying to build a product market fit, where we were trying to uh, help restaurants do their marketing in a very different way. So on all the marketing platforms, what happens is, you pay the money first, and then you see the conversion. Zomato Gold is the marketing platform where you uh, you pay the discount to the customers when once they have stepped in, you once they have transacted at your location, which is crazy marketing, right? And we saw that gap, we solved for it, and we wanted to help restaurant industry grow, and we want to solve for people's desire to go out, but these big restaurants being very expensive, right? So uh, it's really a lifestyle product now, right? So that's how we started. Then we have grown at a very now a scale, like we have more than like millions of users on this. So we have built it for scale. Like we have solved for cases where people were trying to use someone else's Zomato Gold who was sitting at home, right? And we have solved it nicely with different things, animation being one, right? And the third was innovation. Innovation is we introduce something else. It's about creating a new market. And one of the examples, I'm just telling you one of the examples. The another one is contactless, but one of the examples is gold specials, right? And in gold specials, what we have done is we have made the experience even better with you getting percentage discount, not just 300. It could be like 1,000, it could be 2,000 on the basis of how much you transact. And that could only happen because we had gold level penetration in the market, and that's why we could innovate to something like this. Yeah. So now the last part that I want to cover is learning design. How can you learn design? So the the designers I know, excuse me. So there are three skills that great designers have. First is visual design, as we talked about it. Visual design is not just about pretty pixels and everything. It's about making sure people see what you want them to see. They get to see the important thing in first go, and we call it visual design, and you can learn it by copywork. Okay. The second thing is product thinking, and it's about a lot of questions. I have shared a few questions with you. You can, if you question it, you can learn product thinking. Also, I believe a lot of product thinking has to come from questioning other product, that why people have done something like this. And I have learned UX a lot by this way, that if Apple has done it, why they have done it this way, not the other way. And I do it with every product. This is one of the best ways I understand uh, how to learn product thinking. The second is collaboration and communication. So this is something that it's a people skill. So you can learn it from how to make friends and influence people. I want to share some resources that might be helpful to you in this journey, and you can take a screenshot, I think. So the first book is Don't Make Me Think. Steve Krug actually talks about a lot about how to build systems where usability, there are least number of usability issues. People just go through the systems and never to realize that they have been using it for so long or something like that. The second is, as we talked about, Talking to Humans. It's one of the best books on user research. First part talks about why you should do it. Second part talks about how you can do it. One of the best books you can read. The third is Sprint, and Sprint is one of my favorite books because uh, so it's a framework in which you use processes in all the aspects of product design, but while doing that you can learn the processes as well. So he also talks about this particular thing, that all these processes that he has talked about or he has introduced in this sprint book exist, they exist for last 30, 40 years or something like that, but he has just put everything in a structure. So I think this is one of the books where you can learn about the whole thing in much detail. Then then again, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Carnegie. Then there is this one by Dieter Rams, which is 10 Principles of Good Design, which is amazing. And if you see the all the minimal concepts, iPod level designs, and all those, they all actually come from this. if you are interested, read about Nielsen heuristics. These are 10 heuristics on the basis of which you can actually evaluate any design. If it's, you can solve around 90-95% of the usability issues with this Nielsen heuristics. And again, the product, so bridging the gap between product and design, I think this is the most amazing book I have read, so which is the Lean Product Playbook. So that was all from my side, and I just want to, in the end, uh, tell you about, if you want to learn about more design and product thing. Obviously, Institute of Product Leadership is there, but we also do some live sessions. It's free. You can go to like Design Sundays YouTube and Meetup channel, and that's all from my side. You can follow me, talk to me, and ping me on any social media platform. At the rate I am Rohan Mishra is my handle. And thank you so much. That was all from my side.
Thank you, Rohan. Thank you so much. I'm sure there were a lot of takeaways for our attendees. We have received some questions. So here is the first one. What are those indicators which helps you understand that your design has touched your customers?
Actually, so this is a very good question, which actually talks about the data perspective of it, and then the outcome perspective of it as well. So let me start with this. That the first is you should always be measuring the impact, because if there is no impact, then design has failed its purpose. You'll never be able to understand the true potential of the product as well. So in my belief, I whenever I'm creating a product, I follow this thing that when I write the user stories, that which is a very simple way of solving for multiple use cases, which is something in this way. As a user, I want to do this so that this happens. So I always create KPIs for that. So which essentially means, let's suppose, if a user is a merchant restaurant partner, and he is signing up on Zomato. So he's saying, as a merchant, I want to uh, join Zomato so that I can increase my revenue. So the KPI is if the revenue of this particular restaurant has increased or not. So data plays a very important role, I think. And then user research, especially user research, should always be a very iterative process. Design as a whole should be too, but user research is how you figure out more problems, and that's when you will understand that what you created solved the problem or not, or is there something you need to change. So I think data, obviously, gather some data, plus user research will be able to tell you a lot. In my opinion, KPIs help me a lot when I talk to people, and I understand, okay, and I have a I this kind of moment most of the times when there is a usability problem in the system, that people say that we were not able to use this whenever I'm revamping the system. I am just about to say, this is there, but I understand that if they haven't found it, it's something discoverability issue or something like that. So I think analytics plus user research is the way to go.
Great. Here is a question from Suraj. What would be the three key things you concentrated on to get through the COVID scenario in Zomato?
um, so we focused a lot on building trust. So the first part of which was uh, max safety, which is a basically 8-step process we have designed for the logistics team, where what we have done is we have made sure that temperature gets checked, the well sanitization, the restaurant safety measures are taken, and all these things are done. So we have launched this in, I think, a lot of countries. I think 11, 12 countries, where we make sure that safety measures are people are actually practicing the level safety, and we have showcased this on the app as well. So so which ensures that the people, we generate enough trust for the users to use Zomato. The second thing is, uh, we have focused a lot on building very high standards in terms of our delivery partners. So, with that being said, I think we have actually made their process a little harder in terms of that, if you do not have, let's suppose, the Arogya Setu app that we use in India for contact tracing, you cannot sort of do any deliveries or anything. And on the third front, mm, we actually launched a few products, and actually, I'm very proud to say both of the products I led design for that, which is Zomato Market and contactless dining. Zomato Market is our initiative where we started delivering groceries, and it was a very fast paced thing. We sort of onboarded and started the process within 10 days. And contactless dining is where, uh, what we have done is we have reduced all the touch points that a user has to go through at the restaurant, which is basically using the menu, bill book, touching doors and all those things. We have reduced it to minimal level as possible. If you have to All you have to do is you have to send orders on your app, and everything gets served and all those things happen. So these are the three things that we have done. We have also done a lot of other things as well, which ensures that we build a very good trust relationship with our users, because in the end, we care for them, and we want to show them that, have a very good experience when you use Zomato.
Great, thank you. That's very interesting. And here is another question. How do you approach a product design question during an interview? Like design an ice cream stand in an park.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, that should be a very interesting interview.
So, so basically, I'm going for an interview, and the person asks me to design uh, an ice cream selling experience. Is that the question?
Yes,
So,
in an amusement park.
okay, got it. So,
So how would you
I think,
approach a product design question during an interview? Is the question.
okay. So basically, I think, so I believe in this. So if it's in interview, I'll try to sound very smart, and which will be something on the lines of that. What I have done also is, one of my USPs is I actually spend a lot of time in doing user research, right? And in the cases where I can't do it, I come up with some assumptions, and I'm not afraid. So most, what when we are interviewing, what we see is people are so afraid of asking questions in the interview, whether it be a PM, whether it be a designer, and the they are so afraid of asking questions. So whenever I am in that scenario, if I'll be in that scenario, what I'll do is I'll ask questions like, what kind of people come there and all those things. And at any point of time, these questioning is one of the best things that you can do. And at that point of time, I'll try to understand who are the users. So in most cases, uh, I believe, this will be uh, the children, the young people, they will be the primary audience, right? And I'll start. So the first thing, the biggest role that there is the product. There is, I think, the product really is the marketing piece there, and as well as the product, which is the ice cream itself. But I'll start with that, and I'll try to ask a lot of questions from the people who have given me this task, and then I'll sort of try to come up with a whole sort of customer experience part of it. and then, like, I'm not afraid to do testing with these people who have asked me a question. So which means that once I have come up with some hypothesis and all those kind of things, then I'll ask the questions to them, that okay, oh, like, if you go to an amusement park, and if you are, let's suppose, if you want to have an ice cream, what kind of ice cream would you like, who do you go, like, who do you go with, what all these sort of questions, and sort of then I'll design a whole customer journey, and sort of that's how I'll go about it, where first,
Right.
the question gave me empathy, then the ideation, and that part. I think in these kind of situations, whiteboarding exercises, the more thing is how clear you understand, how, like, the question, the audience really who are there.
Great, thank you. Let's take one last question because we are running out of time. So,
Yeah.
Pavitra Kumar has a question here. Are habit forming products good, as these are products that manipulate the users?
So actually, you have to really understand that habit formation is essentially what business wants, and from a user's perspective, I want to tell you that it really depends, right? Like, if it's a book application and I'm hooked into it, like, nothing is bad really. Like, you have to really decide the barrier, what is right for you and what's not, and you have to really understand that the person who has written the book on really breaking down the whole thing, which is hook me real, the same person has written the book on indistractable. Like, how do you make sure that happens as well? So you have to really understand that it's really what the business wants, because their metrics move according to that. And now, in those social media scenario, we have started giving it so much more value, so much social status that this platform holds. That is the real problem. So I don't think, like, for businesses, it really makes sense. And from the user side, you can try to create value for them. And from the social media perspective, it's the social validation which is the value there, right? So if they are
Perfect.
creating that for you, so this works.
Perfect. So basically, there is no good or bad in the world, but
Yeah.
you decide what is good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So may I request you to pick the winner for the day, the best question?
uh, in these questions, right?
Yes.
Okay, can I see the question somewhere?
So there was a question about uh, how do you approach the design, how do you approach design interview,
Mm-hmm.
and the three key things that you did at Zomato.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Okay. So I think I want to give it to, if I say, it has
and
to
also
be.
the habit forming questions.
Okay. So I think the habit forming question is actually better. It's something that I had to think about, and like, if this session was hosted by Zomato, we would have given it to, say, the person who asked about Zomato, right? But thank you so much. I had fun. Thank you so much.
I understand. So, Pavitra, you're the winner. Congratulations. We will reach out to you with your gift. So, meanwhile, thank you, Rohan. Thank you so much. Please accept this certificate of appreciation. So, if you scan the QR code, we have created a dedicated web page, your own Hall of Fame, you can call it.
Wow.
I will send this over to you, and this recording of this session will be available on this QR code. There will be a URL. We will be sharing this with the audience also. So thank you so much. This was great
Do I
session. We
take
hope
a screenshot? Do I
yeah,
take a?
please do, please do.
No, no. Thank
I
you.
will share this with you also by email.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Just kidding. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you everybody. So the next webinar, we will see you right at 8 p.m. Thank you and good night.